Yeah, I know, I'm a little bit late when it comes to the review of the Samsung Galaxy A3 2017, but I also know that a lot of you already have been waiting for this one. And before someone starts to post a comment, yes, the detailed comparison between this one and the Sony Xperia X Compact will come in a day or two, but today it's all about this little guy. So let's just start off and talk about the design and build. It's quite obvious, it looks a lot like a Samsung Galaxy S7, just in a more stealthy and more compact look, because I definitely like here that on the black version, even the border is black. Of course, we also still have the glass, like it or not. I personally like it, but it is a fingerprint magnet. I definitely won't deny this. We, of course, have also the nice little curves, and with the small and compact design, one-hand use is absolutely super enjoyable, absolutely great, and it feels super premium, nothing creaks or anything, and it's pretty much on the same high-quality build level as the S7, and I absolutely like that. Not everything is the same though, because as we can see here, the speaker is on the right side and we have already USB Type-C here with the headphone jack at the bottom and the microphone. The power button, in my opinion, is placed very nicely, very convenient to reach, and on the top we have the microphone, SD card and SIM card tray, and the volume rocker, which I still don't think is in the perfect position here on the left. Otherwise, we see the camera, which is flush on the back along with the LED. Now, if I want to talk about the fingerprint reader, all I can say is it works quite okay. But it is also a little bit annoying, because one thing that I like is that you don't have to press it anymore. You just have to hold and it unlocks. But the whole process still feels a little bit too long. If the display is on, it works a little bit faster, but it's just still not the most reliable. And from all the brands that I've tested so far, I still think Samsung is kind of the weakest one here still. Bezels, in my opinion, absolutely okay sized. There is no notification LED, so that's a little bit of a bummer, but therefore you have always on display in case you want to know, want to use that. I know it's not the perfect solution, but not much we can change here. And of course, we have the capacitive buttons with pretty much the rest. So this would have been it. So that's why I would say let's just already go into the display part. In terms of software here, we have the option to change, of course, it to adaptive, AMOLED Cinema, AMOLED Photo, and Basic. I still prefer adaptive because it feels overall the nicest to me, because the other ones just get a little bit too warm in my opinion. But I have to say, what I really like about this display, it gets super bright. I got, I think, like 600 lux. Viewing angles are stable, contrast is great. The white, absolutely nicely balanced. It's not really that warm anymore as it was in the past. The blacks, of course, are AMOLED blacks and therefore pretty much perfect. And I think the saturation, yes, it is a little bit over the top, but you will kind of know to appreciate it quite quickly, and I definitely like it. I know not everyone likes AMOLED displays, but therefore are phones like the Sony Xperia X Compact that I will compare with, because that has a pretty much on the same level as gorgeous IPS display. So pretty much all has been said about this display. I really like it still. Nothing has changed. Now about the speaker. Cupping definitely helps a lot, but as you can also see here already, if I play games, I block it pretty much all the time, and that was quite annoying for games. If you usually just use it in landscape, it's okay, but then you just don't get the reflection. So overall, I won't give it more than just an okay, because it sounds nice. It's fairly nicely balanced. It could be maybe a little bit richer, like for example the S7, but it's the maximum volume that I would still wish to be better, and the position isn't all that great. Headphone jack though is at least on a good level, almost on the S7 level, so no complaints here at all. And we have a system-wide equalizer and some few extra options. So I'm mostly fine here, absolutely okay. Now, let's talk about the performance. Let me quickly kill all the apps. And then let's see how quickly those launch. I, by the way, switched to Talon by now from Flamingo, but this doesn't really change anything. As you can see, launch times, absolutely fine. Nothing really to complain here about. Quite a snappy device, definitely for sure. And even though it doesn't have maybe that much RAM as some other phones these days, I still think it works fine. You will of course notice a little bit more reloads, but therefore the performance, especially if you go here in the browser, is really nice. Everything is smooth, and even naked browser worked fine. So browsing is on a top level, and if you go in all the apps, as you can see here, this is mostly super smooth, and due to the AMOLED display, it just feels smoother, and I could pretty much get the same experience out of this as on the S7, because it actually is a little bit more consistent, because I don't really have the odd stutters that I have on my S7. Yes, it's not as lightweight when it comes to the scrolling, and not as super smooth, but really, really nice, overall balanced and very nicely optimized. It feels great. Multitasking may be a little bit more limited, but still in normal casual use, absolutely fine for me. Gaming also really nice. Actually, I didn't expect to get that nice frame rates because everything was playable at all times very nicely. Moderate frame rates, actually a little bit over what I would have expected. It didn't really warm up all that much, so even that was fine. So you can play pretty much all the games, even more demanding ones, without any issues. Now, as always, now it's time to talk about the battery. Full charge from 5% to 100, took an hour 50. Maybe it could get even better because this was the first charge where I used the device, so sometimes it maybe improves, but a good value. 6% for 1 hour of YouTube though is absolutely the best value that I had so far. Only one phone could get the same level. This is great. In terms of normal battery life though, like I said already in the last few videos, my change or my behavior, my battery life has a little bit gone through a switch because now the difference between mobile data and Wi-Fi has gone a little bit bigger, and that's why around 5.5 hours is still an absolutely top value, because especially if you consider maybe 7, maybe 8 hours in mixed use or Wi-Fi only, it is great plus. The only thing that I was actually a little bit weirded out is that in this case I expected more on Wi-Fi than I got here, because other phones that I have in the past had not that kind of good of a battery life on mobile data, which this one had actually quite a good one. So this is top. Standby rate was also very good, even on mobile data. And that's why I would say let's just go into the software. Let's call out the one thing first. It is still running on 6.0.1. So not the latest software anymore, but I don't really care because I've used Nougat on a Samsung device. And the only thing that I personally miss is the following. I can't swipe here to get the quick settings. I just have to do this here. On the S7 with Nougat, I can't do this. So this is a minor thing. And as you can see also, we have, of course, the Samsung Galaxy launcher. We have the theme engine that I didn't use because I know a lot of people just don't like me using it, but here it is what it looks like out of the box. In terms of features, I still like it because we get nice things like, for example, the palm swipe to make a screenshot and similar stuff. So the features that are there are absolutely nice. We have the Smart Tool software, we have some audio software, for example, here if you go into that, you can see you have the equalizer, advanced, and so on. And I don't really want to get too much into that because you've pretty much at some point seen the Samsung software. I like it a lot. It is definitely way better optimized than ever before. Of course, with Nougat, it will get a little bit better, and it should come soon, I guess, right after the S8. But I don't really need it. I didn't really notice a noticeable impact in my experience if I used Nougat on my S7 or if I used Marshmallow. The same is here the thing. So I'm fine with that. So I would say let's talk about the camera here. And one thing that you will definitely notice is the exposure is a little bit weird, because if you check the next picture here, it has some issues with exposure. Here it is fine because it really depends on the lighting conditions. But here once again, it just overexposes a little bit too much. And the same is visible here indoors. This was very, very bad. Also very bad. And no, the camera wasn't smudged up, but if you have a little bit better lighting, if you get it properly right, it gets better. But I would say the selfie camera is potentially good, but it just flanks way too often. Here a picture with flash, really nice, without, definitely darker and more grainy, so maybe not that great. And I've noticed that low light definitely needs a way more steady hand, because otherwise it will get blurry quite quickly and it will get grainy. And still here everything looks a little bit too bright. And I know with proper conditions, I could get better results, but I just share my experience here, and this is what I've seen using this camera. Now, if we go outside, there are nice pictures as you can see here, but still, the tendency to make pictures just a little bit too bright and actually a little bit dull sometimes, because as you can see, this is a little bit flat, a little bit washed out, where this one has a great saturation. So it's a little bit of a wonky cam. They could maybe fix that with a camera update, or my conditions just weren't perfect, like I said, but autofocus usually works very fine, and you can get great pictures as you can see here. Really nice and detailed, and potentially the camera is definitely very good, because as you can see here, you can get super nice and detailed, sharp pictures. And the overall experience is still absolutely fine, but I would have actually expected a little bit more. Now, if it comes down to the video, 1080p is where we are at, so this is the maximum. But it is smooth. It's maybe not crazy sharp. Of course, there are some 1080p cameras that are a little bit sharper. There are maybe some with 4K that are noticeably sharper, but I definitely still like the autofocus. It works well. Not a real problem. Of course, the lack of OIS makes it a little bit more shaky, but I can't really complain, because I still think for the price and for the for the level here we are talking about, this camera is absolutely solid. So I won't really go any further into that. Pictures could be great, videos are very good, but it's just not 100% reliable. But I would say let's just go already to the pros and cons. Premium build quality, pretty much on the same level as on the 7, that still costs noticeably more, especially when it came out. So this is just something we have to consider. A very nice design, I like it, it feels very comfortable, and due to being compact, one-hand usability is great. We have a very good display. I could in some way already call it great, just maybe not because it's 720p. It could be a little bit more clear or so, but for what it is, the quality is absolutely top. So in some way it is already great. The speaker is just okay, especially with the placement. I can't really say anything else about that. Performance though is very good, definitely well worth the price, and you get a great overall experience. I can't really complain about it. I just can't give it any more than a very good, because there are better ones after all, real flagships. But this in daily use, just normal experience, is absolutely top, and even better so, the great plus battery life. I can't complain about it at all. It was actually really, really good, and even on mobile data it surprised me in some way. Quite not so much though on Wi-Fi, but still very good. Very good software as well, because I like what they do here, and especially if it gets new, it will be better, but I don't need it, and I like the functionality. Of course, the looks and so on, and a few people still think it will lag after a while, which I didn't experience on my Samsung Galaxy S7 over 1 year, so I wouldn't worry about it, but I know there will be people always hating on that. Potentially a very good cam, I've said all about that, and it is IP68 rated, so waterproof, nice, even though I don't care. Okay, what's not that great? The slightly annoying fingerprint reader. It's just a 100% reliable, and it's just not quite as fast as some of the better ones on the market. The speaker placement, as I already said, especially for gaming a little bit weird, not properly conveniently placed. Weak Wi-Fi reception, and maybe you've seen this in this video. I did not use Wi-Fi as I usually do, because upstairs here in my studio, the Wi-Fi connection was breaking off all the time, and I'm just mentioning this because no other phones, or if some have this, I will mention it, but usually I don't have this issue here. My Wi-Fi here is definitely weaker, and I know this, but at least the connection is usually stable. So it is the phone. Not that great. And the exposure, like I said, is unreliable. One thing, and that leads me to my conclusion, is where I'm not quite so sure, is the value, because I already had it as a con, but I think it's definitely well worth the price of around 300 euro here at the moment. It's a little bit less or more in some places, but there are phones that maybe offer a little bit more, especially though if you are looking for something super compact, there is just not all that much competition out there, especially if you are talking about below 5 inches. And then there is pretty much the only, I think, well-worthy competitor, the Sony Xperia X Compact. Some, of course, could also maybe call out the Z5 Compact. But other than that, I don't see anything below 5 inches. If we are talking about 5 inches, then we have a lot more competition. But that is, after all, noticeably more compact. And whoever is wanting such a phone, you have to kind of go for this or the X Compact. And that's why the comparison will come. But other than that, I can say that I can easily recommend this. This is a great phone overall. I had a great experience. Not everything is perfect, but what you get on a small phone where you just don't have so many alternatives, you get a super solid package with maybe not the best value, but still a very good one. And this is where I'm gonna leave it. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and thanks to Cyberport for the review unit. Otherwise, have a nice day. Bye.